All right, so now we're in Blender here, and we can see when it pops up, we just say General. It gives you this box, click on it, hit delete. Now the Blender, of course, control is completely different. You have different things like your camera and your light source. This is your camera here, so that's going to control the view for rendering, and then your light is right there. But similar XYZ kind of orientation. Right click brings up a menu instead of orbiting. You have to click your center mouse wheel to orbit. Okay. And then zooming with the wheel, shift and clicking your mouse wheel moves and pans the space around. All right. Let's not deal too much with the rest of this stuff until as we're going, because we're not doing a lot of modeling in Blender unless that's a choice you're going to make. But we're going to import our models, clean them up, and make them really nice for exporting into other software even. So what this does is this takes a format of CAD, which is very accurate, and then it translates it into more of a digital format similar to animation or photo rendering, or brings it into a state that you can export it with all of the textures packaged really nicely, and lowers the way that the Unreal Engine or other software deals with each piece of geometry, makes it much cleaner. So that's what we're doing. So we're just going to import our wavefront OBJ, and mine is located in Blender Project, Package Design OBJ. And then here we've got all of these are okay. Image search, smooth groups, lines, geometry, split by object. That's an important one. And then click on import. Okay. And now we see an approximation of some of the colors. They changed some of the colors on this, but over here, this is kind of your scene collection. This is where all of your stuff is. Like, remember we saw the camera and the light and all that. Now we've got owl beak, owl body, and we've got each one of them broken out into separate objects in Blender here. And this is where we're going to do some materials and get the scene set up even more. So we're going to do a basic introduction to that now. All right, so the way that Blender works is you have several modes here: object mode, edit mode, depending on what you've got selected. So if I wanted to start by cleaning up some stuff, like say this background here, if I click on it and then go to object mode, edit mode, it shows me what it looks like, right? And you'll notice that the quads that we imported from Rhino are all here already, so it's fantastic. We're ready to rock and roll with this. However, some of the curvature might not be as smooth as what we were used to before, but we'll see how it works. If we have to change some of that, we might. But in the meantime, let's look at each one of these things separately. So let's go to edit mode, object mode again, so I can select on the pedestal. Now the pedestal, when I switch to edit mode, has more meshes than it needs. Basically, because it's just a box, it really only needs one flat side per side. So to clean that up, the first thing we're going to talk about is modifiers. Modifiers are amazing, and that's really where this program shines, is that you can modify the meshes and tweak them to make them work better. Modifiers are over here. If you're looking at it, make sure that you're in, we're going to go back to object mode here. We've got that selected. I put it into edit mode so you can see all of the shapes in there. But let's go back to object mode with it selected and go to the little wrench here. We're going to add a modifier, and this we're going to use is called decimate. Sounds really scary, right? But this is actually a modifier that's used to reduce meshes, but it also is really great for planar objects. So this is a planar object, so we're going to change it. Right now we've got vertex count of 32. If we change it to planar, we change it to a vertex count of 6. Okay. So that's really cool. And then once we're done with that, let's go ahead and apply it. So we click on the little down arrow here and apply it. So we can always have these modifiers here without applying them. A lot of times you want to not apply them because you want to be able to go back and edit your original object. You can save duplicates or whatever you need to. But now when we go to edit mode, you see now that I've only got the sides on there. Another thing we want to do is we want to clean up the vertices, since we did bring this from another program. So we're going to go up here to vertex, click on the vertex filtering thing here, right click on our object, and go to merge vertices by distance. So if there's anything overlapping, see, it removed 16 vertices. Anything overlapping or funky there, it'll get rid of it. So all of this is going to be really important later on. All right, so we've removed our funky vertices. And we can do that to all of them. As a matter of fact, we should do that to all of them. So let's go back to object mode, click on this, and then go back to edit mode. So you can see that basically you go to object mode, you select the object, you go to edit mode, you're editing the object. And now we've got a vertex selected here, and we can go to merge vertices by distance, and see it removed 634 vertices. So that's a lot of funkiness. Okay. Another thing we can do is we can change this to quads, or from quads to triangles or vice versa by typing Alt J, not just the band, but that tries to quads for some of them if need be. Okay. But for accuracy's sake, we're going to leave it like that. All right, so we remove the vertices, and then you can also use that same modifier again on this, right? So if I go to add modifier and go to decimate, I can collapse edges by a ratio of whatever I want. So right now I've got it at, let me see here, select all, and that'll select all of it. Okay, collapse edges. Let me make sure. Yeah, so you go back to object mode, remember to look at this. So this is going to modify the overall object. You can see right here, the more I collapse it, the worse the detail gets. So you really can't do much to collapse the geometry on this one, but that gives you an idea. You can do that on other ones. Okay. Let's go back to object mode and select another object here. Again, we're going to go back into edit mode, and with the vertice filtering turned on right here, right click on it and go merge vertices by distance. Look over here, it goes, whoa, it removed 105 vertices. And so on. So that's going to be how you clean up the object. And we'll get into materials and rendering a little bit later, but we're on a good path to having this thing ready to rock and roll.